up, loungers? I hope everybody is doing as great as I am today. Listen, I've got a lot of things I've got to do this afternoon. So I wanted to do this afternoon, but I don't think I'm going to have time. So I just figured I would get this in this morning. And tomorrow we are still going to do our Kojic Church special, okay? Because I did look at the receipts over there at at Official King Payne, and they look legit to me. Okay, so I'm definitely going to talk about this stuff tomorrow, and get into this whole Larry Reed stuff and Tang's honey. It'll probably be closer to tomorrow evening, not so much in the morning because I'm just not going to be around. But either way, I do plan on doing that video tomorrow. Okay, but today, guys, we are going to talk about Joe's picture. Okay, which everybody has now seen in the sector. It has become the topic of the sector. So we're definitely going to talk about that this morning and my thoughts on that. And then we're going to talk about the state of Pennsylvania versus the Jehovah's Witnesses. So all my ex-J dubs, y'all gather around, okay? Because there's a lot of ish going on with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And this has been happening now it's been happening for a while. But the probe has come out, and there's a lot of stuff that is coming out now. That has come out in the past week or so. So we are most definitely going to get into all of these hot topics today. Also, we're going to talk about some comments from viewers, okay, and just kind of get into that, and then we'll go from there. But I do appreciate everybody who is piling in. Make sure that you guys do hit the like button on the way in, guys, okay? And shout out to the moderators who are in the chat as well. Let's go ahead and get into this stuff, guys. Vici, one of my favorite members, truly appreciate you for being in the building today. Miss Murph as well. You said happy Saturday, Miss T. Pre, and happy Saturday to you as well. You said hey to Vici. What's up, Riz? Appreciate you. One of my favorites in the building. Appreciate you being here. You said good morning to Riz. You said hey, Miss Murph. Good morning. And what's up, Living Life? I truly appreciate you, sis, for being in the building today. You said afternoon, T. Pre, and everyone. I know it's afternoon over there across the water, but yeah, it's still morning over here. It's actually 8:41 a.m. So I wonder what time it is over there. Let us know. And you said good afternoon, Living Life. You said Miss Murph, salutations, Queen. You said hey, Living Life, and good morning to the Godmother. Appreciate that, sir. You said Miss Murph, what's up, Riz and Vici? And you said Riz. You said hit the like button, everybody. Yes, everybody hit that like. Now, let's first start off with Joe's picture, okay? Because everybody's been kind of talking about that. Oh, it's early? Okay. Yeah, it's still 8:41 over here, but I get up pretty early. I've been up since probably like 4:30. I always get up early. It's just a force of habit since I've been a mom, right? That I just get up really early. It's funny because a fun fact about that is my grandmother used to get up that early too. She used to get up like 4 o'clock in the morning, and by the time everybody else got up in the house, she had the whole house clean. She had breakfast done. And I'm talking about like a full course breakfast with like eggs, sausage, bacon, eggs, toast, grits, you name it. She had all that. Okay. And then you like have some orange juice and all kind of stuff on the side. Like my grandma just had it together like that. She tells us though, well, she's not now. She passed away now, but she told us though, that she didn't always have it like that, when she first got married and stuff, she wasn't doing all that, but, over the years, she just developed those types of habits and stuff like that. And I guess from learning from her so young is how I picked up those habits. So I started picking up habits like that. And I've literally been doing that pretty much all my adulthood. I mean, I've been a mother since I was 18. I was almost 19. So I've been doing this for years, right? And it's just something that I do. The only time that I'll sleep past a certain time is if I came in really late or I got to bed really, really late, which happens from time to time, right? But most of the time, I'm up really early in the morning. So, and I enjoy doing that, you know. And then, like, you know, depending on what I've got to do that night, I might take a nap earlier. That way I can stay up later because if not, I won't be able to stay up. I'm going to be asleep by like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. That's just what happens, you know. Sometimes I'm up, but most of the time I'm in the bed by that time, you know what I mean? Like chilling. So, but that's just something that my grandmom used to do. You say, yep, Black women get up early. It's an ancestral thing. I swear. My grandmother was the same. Yep. And I hear that from a lot of other people too. My mom, she's like that too. She gets up very early in the morning. You know, it's just a thing, right? Good morning, unadulterated. Appreciate that. You said my grandmother did the same thing. I would wake up smelling great food and hearing George Benson, right? George Benson was one of my grandmother's favorites. That's something. How about that? How about that? You said Vici, 5:41 a.m. Where you at? I think Vici would be on the West Coast then, because they're about 3 hours behind us over on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast living life, which is Delaware is on the East Coast, and California, Washington, all those places, they're all on the West Coast. So probably over that way somewhere. You said, great foot, pause. You say, yes, living life to the fullest. I like getting up early before the sun. Me too. It also used to give me time before the kids would get up, right? So that would be my time in the morning. I would have my blunt, I would have my coffee, different things, you know what I'm saying? And that was my early time to just myself, right? Now I don't necessarily need it for that, but it's just a force of habit. I just can't help getting up that early. You know what I mean? That's funny. You said, hey, you said unadulterated truth. You say, yeah, in Seattle. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Hey, Spirit Mouse, appreciate you being in the building. You said, what's going on, T Pre and loungers? You said, oh, wow, big time difference state to state. So it's 4 time zones here. There's the East, then there's Central Time, then there's Mountain Time, and then there's West Coast, or not West Coast time, there's Pacific time, okay? So the East Coast time is like mountain, it's like the time of New York City. Any time that's in New York is everybody on the East Coast is on that same time, okay? Including Florida. I'm pretty sure all of Florida is in the East Coast time. And yeah, I know all of Florida is. And then if you keep going over, I believe most of Georgia is as well. I think there's a little bottom southwestern corner of Georgia that's in Central Time. I know that parts of Alabama is in Central Time, right? And then if you keep going up northern and further, that's all Central Time. And then if you go even further out into like the Rockies and stuff like that, then you're in Mountain Time. And Arizona doesn't even celebrate either one of them. They just do whatever they want to do. They don't change their time zone. They just stay where they are. And I know there's another state like that too. But they're still like 2 or 3 hours behind. So my family that lives in Arizona, we do watch the times we call each other, because my time, sometimes I can't tell whether it's 3 hours behind in Arizona or whether it's 2. Depending on what time of the year it is, but they never change their time. I know that. And then the further you go out, like out of Arizona and out even further is West Coast time, or like Pacific time. So yeah, it's a little strange to explain. I can't tell you all the states that observe what. All I just know is everything up and down the East Coast is on Eastern time. So, so yeah, it's pretty interesting to know. That's going on. I would have thought that England was the same way, but let us know what it's like. I guess everybody in England is on the same time. That's pretty interesting. He said, hope all is good, unadulterated. You say, yeah, living life. I think everything has a native name. Oh, yeah, of course. He said, Ohio is on East Coast time, even though it's the Midwest. Yes, it is. Ohio is definitely on Eastern time. I had went to Ohio recently, and the time didn't change or anything. It was cold as fuck, but the time didn't change. So yeah, that's true. You said unadulterated, good morning. You said, Miss Murph, hey, happy Saturday to you, sis. Yeah. You said, hey, what's up, Vici? You said, okay, Vici, that's interesting. You said, living life to the fullest, all is great. Hope your day is off to a great start. All right, so let's look at, let's talk about the Joe picture first, and then we're going to get into the Actually, let's get into the comments first, and then we'll go into the Joe picture. Okay, so we were talking the other day about AAS Gate and the Bishop Whitehead story with Larry Reid and all them. And everybody laughed. Ray Triggs, shout out to the bestie. Everybody laughed at that damn call. Okay. I mean, there were people that dropped out the clouds that I haven't spoken to in a while that laughed about that call. Okay. So just to let you know, shout out to you for that phone call that we made the other day. Also, everybody was laughing kind of at the ISIS thing that the official Kingpin said when really it was ICE. Okay. So shout out to Daryl Moore that pointed that out. There was a couple of other people that pointed that out as well. Positively Karma or Karma 52, shout out to her. She says, replay child, can you imagine the media coverage if that package had been found in the White House while Obama was in office, right? Can y'all imagine if that Coke was found in the White House when Obama was in there? All the narratives that would have came out. How many people would have been? They would have been trying to impeach that man. It would have been all kinds of stuff going on if Obama had been the one that they found all that cocaine in the White House over. Okay. Also, Trump too. If they had found that in there with Trump in there, oh, it would have been holy hell to pay. They would have had the actual bag itself on camera. Everybody would have been able to see the bag of coke. It would have been a whole biggie if Obama or if Trump was in there at the time that this happened. But the fact that it's Biden and, I don't know. I feel like somebody is trying to set him up over the Hunter thing, but Hunter don't be in the White House like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's a little kid and he's living at the White House with his parents, right? Hunter is a grown ass man. So, I don't see what his connection to that would be. And like I said, there's only certain people that go in certain parts of the White House. So it wouldn't be hard to narrow down who was in that area, you know what I'm saying? And then be able to see it on camera too. Like, come on now. They know damn well. On top of that, I'm pretty sure unless their security is lackadaisical, which doesn't look good for the U.S., I'm pretty sure somebody is sweeping that White House every single day, going through there, checking for explosives and all kinds of stuff in the White House. I am pretty sure there is some type of security detail that is in place every single day, right? So there shouldn't be a 24-hour period that would go by that they wouldn't find something. So if that cocaine was there that day, it probably wasn't there 24 hours before, right? I mean, I don't know what their routine is as far as checking security in the White House, but I'm pretty sure within a 24-hour period, they did a sweep of that whole West Wing and they would have been able to find it. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody would have found that. So it was put there within a certain amount of time. All they had to do was go back and look at the cameras and they would have been able to tell exactly where that came from. So I think I know that they know who it came from. They just don't want to tell us who it came from. Okay, that's just what that is. But yes, honey, I most definitely agree with that. Now, shout out to Steph Collins. She says, Miss Anti, no, I'm actually Lizzie, or Miss Anti, yo, who's Martini? Whoever the hell you are. It's the Copyright Claims Board, not Federal Copyright Claims Court, okay? So, Rev G, if he needed a copyright, and he wanted to go and fight this whole thing over copyrights, right? Rev G would need to get in touch with the Copyright Claims Board, okay? Not Federal Copyright Claims Court. There's no such thing. Just like there was no federal courts for the Board of Mortgage Licensors, okay, that you've been looking for me, okay? Just like DOT is not going to randomly drug test somebody because you don't like them, okay? Especially considering you don't even know their identity, okay? Yes. So you need to learn what these places are. You need to learn what the names of these locations are, right? Before you start coming out here, throwing names out here for everybody, trying to sound important, okay? Just to let you know. And toast up to Diggable. He said, toast Miss T Pre, replay gang, LOL. I know he was laughing at the phone call. And Clark says, replay, nothing is going to a copyright court. Is there such a thing? Well, at least she is admitting to watching everyone's show, right? She should get into stand-up comedy. That phone call was everything. She said, by the way, she said black women did say a while ago that, BW, I don't know what she meant. BW did say a while ago that she was suing. Bishop Whitehead did say a while ago that he was suing Tasha K. I saw him outside the Apollo Theater for their gala in his Gucci suit. Trust, no one was talking to him. I wonder if Larry had given Tasha K that $250K she wanted, what the story would be now. She doesn't do it for me at all, right? I get you. I got you. And Smoke says replay. And then I says SMH, Ray is a whole fool. So shout out to the bestie for that. That was truly, truly funny. Truly, 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 truly funny. Now, let me go ahead and get back to the comments real quick. And then I'm going to go into the story about Joe's picture. And then we're going to get into the JWs. Okay. So shout out to all of you. Everybody's saying hey to Ray. You said hey to Tiggs. We got to go on here. It's Money to Burn. What's up, sis? Hope you're doing well. I did hit a whole bunch of your pictures and stuff on Instagram. Shout out to you. You're looking great, sis. And I'm very proud of you. And I hope that you're doing excellent this morning. Shout out to you for being in here so early with me. You said Money to Burn. Good morning. You said hey to Vici. You said Money to Burn. Good morning. You said Miss Murph and Living Life. And Vici, sorry, was in a call. No problem. And you said, hey, lady, living life to the fullest. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and start off with this Joe picture, okay? Because, yeah, a lot of people have been talking about it. I saw the picture when it first happened. And I'll be honest, okay? Like, I've already seen pictures of Joe from the past. Joe and I have talked many times when we were really close. We had talked many times, and I've seen pictures of her. And so I'll be honest with you. That particular shot or screenshot is very blurry, number one. Also, it is, you know how like when you turn on the camera by mistake, like it happens to the best of us. Like it always does. Hold on. So you know how like when you turn on your camera by mistake and you accidentally come on camera real quick, it'll give an angle on your phone that'll make it look a certain way and all this stuff. And of course, a troll like Stargate who calls people niggers and always has stuff to say about somebody's nose and all these things. Of course, she's going to like, run with that, right? At first, I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to get into it and jump all in it and stuff like that. And I'll tell you why. Joe has spent a lot of time doing this same shit to people, right? She has spent quite a bit of time in the fuckery, quite a bit of time constantly talking about people's looks and different things like that. You understand what I'm saying? So, and nobody really had anything to say when motherfuckers were coming from me. All right. So I wasn't going to jump in the middle of that and jump out here and try to and do this and do that. But I will say this much. Okay. Joe is not an ugly woman. I've seen pictures of Joe. I know what Joe looks like, okay? Joe is actually a very beautiful Black woman, and she's quite intelligent too. And, she's got her shit together. She might not be perfect, and there might be, some flaws with her like everybody else is. But at the end of the day, Joe is not no ugly hoe. She's not out here looking all crazy, as bad as y'all want that to be, or some of y'all want that to be. That's just not the case, right? Now, I saw a couple of y'all who I have seen pictures of as well because you accidentally cammed up, you know what I'm saying? Like Deacon Young, for instance. You have no room to talk about that woman whatsoever, sir, okay? I don't care. Just because it's been 6 or 7 months since anybody has looked at your picture, okay, doesn't mean that you can now jump out here and start coming and talking about Joe's picture and all this stuff because, baby, you can't talk about anybody, sweetheart, okay? Yeah, like it got to the point where even Slander God wanted to time me out when I doxed your motherfucking picture, okay? Like, that's how you looking out here, okay? So before you come jumping out the window for any women, okay, any of you incel looking niggas come out jumping out the window for any women and talking shit about the women, leave that to the women, okay? If there's a woman that wants to drag Joe, if there's a woman that wants to talk shit about Joe, you let the women do it. You know why? Because the women can handle the women. Men need to stay the fuck up out of that shit. One thing I will say about Photon, for God motherfucking sake, shout out to this bitch ass nigga. I can't believe he finally, for once in his life, decided to stay out of the ladies' room. Can y'all give this nigga a round of applause, y'all? Give this nigga a round of applause. He finally decided to stay out of the ladies' room and was like, you know what? I'm not going to get all in this. And I think Joe is beautiful. And I think this. And I don't know if that was the Modelos talking or what it was. But shout out to that bitch ass nigga for doing that. We appreciate you for finally, sir, not popping your pussy and popping your gum all in the ladies' room, okay? And being all in the mix, even though you had to find a reason to come for T-Pre, okay? Now, honey, I know you be doing that shit all the goddamn time. This is what you do. You've been in your feelings since I literally never voted for you during one of the Secktah Awards, okay? And y'all, yes, that is the reason why Photon has an issue with me. I don't give a fuck what he's telling y'all. That is the reason why Photon has a problem with the pre, okay? He finally told me, and I know that's why, because, and I'll tell you guys why that's so significant, okay? Photon did. Now, I will give him props for this. When we first started talking about these Secktah Awards, right, it was something that I had mentioned. I had mentioned to a couple of people in the sector. I had mentioned this to Drama. I mentioned this to Joe. And there were a couple other people in the sector that I had mentioned the Secktah Awards to. And they all did their own twist of the Secktah Awards. Now, Photon, after he heard, I mentioned the TMK, there was a couple other people. Now, Photon had, when he first heard about me talking about these Secktah Awards, he sent me a template of what the Secktah Awards should look like, right? And I'll tell you, it was fucking genius. It really was. Okay, at the time, and what the sector was doing, and you know, like everything, it included trolls, it included everybody, right? And it was really, really great. So I was gonna go with it, but at the time, I didn't really want to work with Photon. Like it was just so much, like y'all know Photon, right? Like so, I just didn't want to deal with him like that. It was so much shit he was always getting into, and I just didn't want to at the time be getting into all this stuff along with him, right? I didn't want to be another Stargate who's getting into everything that Binary gets into, she gets into. I just didn't want to be like that, right? So I left it alone for a while, and I did start, handing this idea out to other people. Drama did one, Joe did a couple, Drama did a couple, and there was a couple other people that had done their own version of it. I know Shakem had did one, a couple of them. Either way, the bottom line is the one that I did participate in, where I had actually went and voted. I didn't vote for Photon. Okay, like honestly, I didn't fucking vote for Photon. What's up, Joe? I didn't vote for Photon, right? So that is the reason why. And Photon knew I didn't vote for him. Somehow he asked me if I voted for him, and I told him no, I didn't. Right? Like, I didn't. I honestly did not. Right? Oh my God, he has been in his feelings about that ever since then, y'all. Like, this nigga been in his bag ever since. He been popping his pussy and his gum and his titties all in my face ever since I didn't vote for him for the fucking Secktah Awards, yo. Like, yo, is this nigga serious right now? Like, this is why this man is in his feelings. Okay, so anytime and any chance he could get to try to drag the pre or try to talk shit. Like, he's just going to be in his feelings, and I don't give a fuck, okay? Plus, I done dragged him a couple of times, too. Done cussed him the fuck out. Done embarrassed his ass a couple of times, okay? Done shown how much of a bum his ass is for taking $500 from a bitch to begin with and all this other stuff. And so, therefore, yeah, he be in his fucking feelings, all right? And it's funny because I'll be trolling his ass. I'll come in there in the chat and every fucking thing. Be like, hey, folks. Put the little life signs up and shit. I'll be dragging his little ass and making him feel some kind of way just to get him in his fucking bag. Because I know he's going to get in his bag. I know he's going to talk shit. And then I'm going to talk shit back. Like, that's just what the fuck it's going to be. But anyway, it was shocking that he did not try to get in that bullshit and try to be on some bullshit with Joe yesterday and, you know, tried to like up her and everything else. But the bottom line is, y'all, at the end of the day, I have honestly seen Joe. I know what Joe looked like. Joe is quite tall. Joe is about 5'7". Well, she's taller than me. She's about 5'8", something like that. Longer hair, medium brown. You know, she's a pretty girl. There's nothing wrong with Joe, okay? And she's a married woman, okay? And she's happily married as well. So I knew that this particular bullshit wasn't going to bother Joe like that. You know what I'm saying? She's pretty thick-skinned. And she be right out here in the fuck shit with everybody. Like, Joe be out here trolling the fuck out of y'all, trolling the fuck out of motherfuckers and shit. So I really didn't think it was going to press her that goddamn much. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. And I don't think it's going to be long lasting either. I think eventually y'all niggas just going to get over it. And if you don't, you're going to have to, because it's clearly she don't really give a fuck. Okay. And she doesn't have a reason to give a fuck, especially if you're confident in yourself. You don't really give a fuck what other motherfuckers think. Okay. I think some people have not caught on to that even about me around the sector. Every single time they show this picture of me with my arm up looking at y'all, I don't think I'm an ugly woman. I've not been told I'm an ugly woman. I've got niggas trying to beat my door down, trying to get to me. I got all kinds of stuff going on. I'm not the prettiest bitch in the world, but I ain't no ugly bitch, okay? So just because a bitch ass nigga like too big, like skinny jeans comes up and be like, oh, take her ugly picture down. Like, I'm going to be like, no, where? I'm going to laugh at you, bitch ass niggas. Like, that's what the fuck I'm going to do. I know you watching. What's up, too big? Yeah, but yeah, I'm just going to laugh at you, bitch ass niggas, because y'all be breaking y'all neck trying to get the women to feel like they so ugly and they so fucked up and they so horrible and they so awful. And we don't feel that way, okay? You should be happy that your Black sisters actually give a fuck about themselves and that they have confidence in themselves. That should be a lesson to you niggas in the sector, the bitch ass niggas, not the regular niggas, you know what I mean? Not the real men out here, but these bitch ass niggas that always want to hop out the window, trying to jump to some bullshit and you don't know what you talking about and just trying to say this and say that because they always trying to get at you. They be the niggas that want you the most. Like, they be the niggas that want you the motherfucking most, bitch. Yes. They just too pussy to say it. That's all it is. But anyway, we're going to move on from that. But shout out to Joe, okay? Yes, Joe wasn't jumping out the window when niggas was talking about me. Joe wasn't jumping out the window like, yeah, trying to jump to my aid and all that shit. That's the reason I'm not jumping in that shit. But I will say that Joe is not an ugly woman, okay? She most definitely has confidence in herself, as she should, okay? And she's not going to stop. And if I was her, I would just start camming up all the motherfucking time. That's just what it is. Like, I mean, what the fuck you niggas going to do about it? Not a motherfucking thing, but cry in the corner. Oh, she's ugly. Oh, please, God, make her ugly because I'm so ugly, God. Please make her ugly too, God. Dumbass, bitch-ass niggas. Like, it's you bitch-ass niggas that's doing that shit. It ain't even the females. It's the niggas. That's how it be. In this sector, it is so funny. It's so funny how y'all complain about certain things, right? Y'all complain that the women are doing this and the women are complaining about the men and the women are talking about the men. But if you look in the history of this sector, it is always a man that leads the charge in disrespecting women all the motherfucking time. It be niggas doing that shit. The women be looking at y'all like, We're not even getting involved in that shit. We're not even touching that shit. You know what I mean? We're not doing anything. You just go ahead. No, it be the men with the cape. No, I'm the first one. I got my sword. I got my horse. Let's go. Just all in it. And then when a man come up there and check your ass, you don't got much to say then, right? You don't got too much to say then. You wanna filibuster and jump down and talk and get off the panel and all this other stuff. But when a woman when they got a woman on the chopping block, it be men be the first one on the scene. Got something to say. It don't make no goddamn sense, y'all. Y'all ought to be a goddamn shame of yourself. Not everybody, but y'all know, y'all niggas, y'all pussy niggas know who y'all are. And I ain't got no problem calling you bitch ass niggas the fuck out. And that's just what it is. Bitch ass niggas. Now, anyway, shout out to all of y'all in the building. Make sure that y'all hit the like button on the way in. Let's go ahead and get into the comments, and then we are going to get into the JW thing, y'all, because this is a lot. Okay. Hold on 1 second, guys. You said, hey, the money to burn. You said, I had that happen to me during a Teams meeting. Good thing I was dressed, right? It's funny because I was in a Teams meeting yesterday at my for my work, and I said something out loud and I was not on mute, y'all. Whoa, thank God they didn't know who it was. Thank God they didn't know it was me. But yes, child, I was like, oh God. Because the person that was talking, I ain't gonna hold y'all. Y'all know my fucking temper, right? The person that was talking was irritating the shit out of me. It was about 100 people in this Zoom call. And so they really wouldn't have known that it was me. But the person that was talking was just irritating the shit out of me, right? And I was just like, oh my God, well, they just shut up, right? And then all of a sudden I started seeing, oh Lords and oops and oh my Gods and everything else. And I was like, I looked at the thing and it wasn't muted. I was like, oh shit. So I got to make sure I'm watching the mute button every time I do get into a Teams meeting from now on. You said everybody done got caught slipping, Joe. Joe is pretty. She's very pretty, actually. Y'all don't know. Y'all just don't know. But she's beautiful. You said caught slipping, right? You said a few got caught slipping. Me too. I've been on there, when my camera done came off and shit. It happens, right? You said, but what about when Joe messes with the men? That's what I'm saying. She be in the fuckery, right? She be right up in the mix with y'all. She be hopping on y'all and saying shit about y'all and talk about Deacon Young and everything else. Like, so, I mean, it's fair game, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think Joe is going to be as pressed over this as people would think, because Joe, shit don't really bother Joe as much as people think it do. Sometimes it do, and most of the time it don't be bothering her like that. You said, Ray, she said plenty of horrible things about men who didn't come for her. That is true. That is true. And this is why I'm saying, what's up, Joe? And this is why I'm saying, if you in the fuckery like that, you know what I'm saying? This is what the fuck happens. He said, living life exactly, including me. So who's going to protect me? I got you, bestie. I got you. He said, Ray, exactly. Pills and Remix Deacon got it too. Yep. You said, Ray, you got to protect your own neck around here. Mm-hmm. You said, sup, JoJo, Josephine. You said, Miss Murphy, I agree, and I do exactly that. But if I follow my bestie's rules, I should be quiet. No, not at all. I'm not saying y'all should stop. I'm just saying, like, if, y'all both are mutually doing this shit. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not in no way saying y'all should stop doing it. I'm just letting y'all know I don't think it's going to bother her as much as people might think. That's what I'm saying. You said, right, Miss Murph, he does. You said, hey, to money to burn. You said, thank you, Miss T. Pre 100. Mm-hmm. You said, Joe, you said, glad she didn't run and hide like some. Right. There's people that will run and hide, never come back and all that stuff. But Joe she don't have a reason to feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Honestly. You said, Ray, sometimes you got to agree to disagree. Yep. You said, what's up, Joe? And the chat activist. You said, hi, too big. I don't know where the fuck he is. You said, tell him, T-Pre. You said, hey, Pills, I appreciate you being in the building. You know I'm going to tell him. You said, good morning, Miss T-Pre. Hey, Clark, appreciate you. You said, greeting, Pills. You said, good morning, chat. You said, hey, to living life. You said, tell them, Pre. You know I'm going to be telling niggas out here. I don't got no problem telling these pussy niggas about theyself. And that's just what it is. And they just going to have to go live and talk about T Pre for 2 or 3 hours, I guess. I'm going to go live and talk about you. That's what I'm going to do. You said, good to see you, Pills. Morning, Clark. You said, hey to living life. You said, good morning, Clark and Pills. You said, Miss Murph, true. That's why I'm still here supporting. And I appreciate you, Triggs, because, we can agree to disagree. It is what it is. But, hey, everybody participates in the fuckery just as much. I think that's the thing, you know what I mean? But we ain't out here saving nobody. That's just what it is. He said, money to burn. Salute, Queen. Ray Triggs. Miss Murph. You said, that is too funny, right? You said, hey, Pills and Clark. You said, I've done that before. I didn't last long after that. I swear I didn't mean for that to happen, man. You said, Joe has already said and continued to say very clearly that she's a roaster. Exactly. This is what Joe do. Like, this is what she do. I mean, and for me, like I said, I've talked to her, behind the scenes several times. So I know how things will kind of just roll off her back. I know how also she takes stuff. I ain't going to say too much, you know what I mean? But I know how she be taking stuff. So I don't think it's going to really press her that much. But hey, y'all have at it. You said, Miss Murph, salute. You said, Miss T Pre, I'm happy that you didn't jump into this. No, I ain't about to jump into that shit. Actually, I'm cool with Joe. I ain't got no beef with her. I just, if other people jump into it, though, I ain't going to stop them. I ain't gonna be the one to jumping in there saying nothing, honey. That's just that. That's just on God. But either way, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this hot topic of the JWs, because there's a lot going on with that. And it's going to take a couple of minutes to kind of get through this clip. And then we'll get right into this show. But let me play a quick timer for y'all real quick. This is going to be our church timer. And then we're going to get right up into this.
I'm holding on. Oh, yes, I am. Hold on, yeah. Yeah, I'm holding on. And I won't let go of my faith. I'm down here. Oh, yes, I am. Hold on. Yeah, yes, I believe in the Father and His Son, yeah. Oh, I got the religion when I was very young, yeah. I'm a Christian, thank God, saved by grace.
Woo! All right, y'all. Okay, so listen, let's go ahead and get into this. Shout out to Outlaw who sent this information to me, okay, because I had heard like in the back of my mind about it, but I wasn't paying attention, okay, until I got this direct link. And once I looked at this, actually there's 2 links. Once I looked at this and then I went further and got some more information, I said, oh shit. Okay, so we are going to get into this, guys, because all of y'all know I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So I have been in that faith. I have probably know just about everything there is about the organization. And I have fought for many years doing activism against the Watchtower because of the sex abuse that has taken place in the organization and other things, from the deaths of people over blood transfusions, all kinds of stuff. I have done some real activism out here in these streets, okay? Not only physically in person, that I have shown up to various events. I have also physically unwitnessed to witnesses. I have been physically over and spoken with witnesses. I have had witnesses come to my house, all kinds of stuff, and I have done the work, okay? I've been on Facebook, YouTube, everything. Miss T Pre, the Miss T Pre channel actually comes from doing activism against the Jehovah's Witnesses, okay? So I have been in the trenches with this stuff. And so to hear the triumphs that come forward over some of the things that I have personally fought over is a real triumph to me. And I feel so vindicated by a lot of this stuff. So allegedly, well, this is not even alleged. This is a most definite thing. The Pennsylvania grand jury has opened up an investigation against the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And they've done this so long ago that they have now indicted over 20 individuals already, okay? They recently just indicted 5 new people, and they already had like 14 or 15 people that they had already charged, okay? So we're going to get into this right now, and then I'm going to tell you guys my commentary on this and how I really, really feel about this. So we're going to play this under fair use. Bear with me just a moment. And again, shout out to Outlaw for sending this to me. I definitely appreciate him for that. I know he knows I keep up with the Jehovah's Witnesses, so definitely appreciate that, guys. All right, so.
On CBS News Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's Attorney General is announcing arrests in multiple child sexual abuse cases across the state. Let's listen in.
Ongoing investigation against multiple men across Pennsylvania for sexually assaulting children. Sadly, this is not the first time that I've stood here and talked about this. Last October, our office announced similar charges against 5 separate men. And then in February, I stood before you and announced charges against 4 additional men. This is the 3rd press conference of this nature, which we've held in 3 different areas of the Commonwealth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As I said, this abuse happened across the Commonwealth.
Hey there, real quick.
All right,
I'm here to
so
tell you about
I'm going to talk about what they were talking about, because this has not only happened across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, this is happening across the world, okay? The biggest probe into the Jehovah's Witnesses thus far, prior to this one, was the Australian Royal Commission. I will put a link to that in my description box. The Australian Royal Commission it's the courts, okay, in Australia that came up against the entire governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses, okay? And it was because of the sex abuse cases that were coming out in Australia. It was happening so much, right, that they were just disturbed by how many, what was happening. During the Royal Commission is when they uncovered that the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society actually holds a database that when someone is reported to the congregation as a pedophile, they will put their name in this database, okay? And instead of their name, their likeness, their identity, all of that will go into this database, okay? And instead of contacting their local police or their local authorities, they will keep it in this database and allow it's sent to New York, and then they hold it, okay? And they will probe into it if they feel it's quote unquote necessary. So elders and other pedophiles have been very aware of this policy for years. This policy is called the 2-witness rule, okay? So in the 2-witness rule, the Jehovah's Witness, and this is according to a scripture that's about having 2 witnesses to bear evidence against someone if there's a sin that your brother has committed, quote unquote. Okay, so I'm like paraphrasing what the scripture is, but either way, that is the scripture that they use to go by this 2-witness rule. Most people know that in sex abuse cases there aren't more than one witness, right? There's usually the perpetrator and the victim, okay, unless there's more than one victim. But generally speaking, there's usually one, okay? So it's hard to say, in a case like this, hey, there's 2 witnesses, and so I've got 2 witnesses that you guys can do something about this. In the minds of Jehovah's Witnesses, I have to go back a little bit and kind of explain a little bit of this, because it's hard to understand when you're not a JW or when you're not involved in a cult, okay? But the bottom line is, people look up to, and I think we've went over this before in other cults we've even talked about this with Larry Reed's church and some other things, the Kojic church and stuff. But the bottom line is, people look up to the elders. They look up to the organization. They look up to the governing body, the same way people do look up to the Pope and so forth, okay, as Catholics. And when people look up to these leaders, they tend to protect these leaders and protect the organization that they're involved with. Okay. So the Jehovah's Witnesses have literally been, and yeah, we'll get into that in just a second, Miss Murph, about the unevenly yoked thing. Yeah. We'll get into that in just a second, guys. But either way, Jehovah's Witnesses, they look up to the organization. They believe, and it's been probed in their mind for years, okay, that the Watchtower is to be worshipped in a sense. Not that they will worship them, and they don't actually say that, but you are supposed to put them on a pedestal, okay? You are supposed to believe very highly in the organization, and therefore their idea is to protect the organization's image at all costs. That would include if something so horrible would come out, and this was their reasoning behind why they were not reporting this to the authorities worldwide, okay? Their reasoning behind not reporting abuse cases to the authorities is because they wanted to, quote unquote, protect the image of God and protect the image of the organization, okay? If people, in their minds, if everybody in the world thought that there were pedophiles in the organization, then they would believe that they're not the truth, and they would believe that, there's something going on in the organization. Well, duh, yeah, that makes sense, right? If there's pedophiles in the organization that are running so rampant because they know, and I'm telling you, JWs know that pedophiles know that there is a system in place within this organization that protects them, okay? This is a safe haven for them. Of course, they're going to come in and be involved in such an organization. This is exactly what's going on with the Kojic Church, right? Where people know that there is a system in place that will protect them, okay? Even if they do get caught doing something, even if they do get caught, actually molesting a child, they know that there is a system of elders and a system that's already above them in place that is going to protect them, because they kind of go by the same mindset, right? Oh, we want to protect the image of the church. We want to protect the image of God. And so therefore, we are not going to tell the public about these things. And in doing that, what they do is they create literally a safe environment for pedophiles. And that is why pedophiles are running rampant in the organization. Now, lately, it's just like this Church of Scientology, the Catholic Church is all the same, okay? Because they're all kind of going by that BITE model that I was telling you guys about, the behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. They all go by that. And the Jehovah's Witnesses have a really strong hold on that BITE model, okay? Even though it's not something that they sat down together and wrote out, but they all have those similar they all have those similar practices, okay? And it is called the BITE model. All right. So either way, that is exactly what's happening with the J-Dubs. And like I said, the biggest probe into them was in Australia, and that broke open the door big time. This was about 8 years ago now that this happened. This was back in 2015. So ever since then, it has been holy hell for the Watchtower to pay. They have been literally paying a fine every single day for keeping that database I told you guys about. The government has asked for the database many, many times, and they keep, trying to deny it. They kept going to court over it. When they lost the final case in court over that database, they just kept it. They just never released it, and they're just willing to pay that fine every single day. They're willing to pay this daily fine over top of just releasing the database. That goes to tell you how many people that they are protecting in that organization, right? If they release the database, what names are in that database? Are there governing body members in that database? Are there members that are part of the, the lawyers or, the legal team, other parts of the organization that would have a major impact, right? Would it be elders? Would it be half of the congregations? Like, why is it that they would not want to release this information? Why? Who is it that they're trying to protect, right? And why? This is sickening. It's absolutely disgusting. And thank God that there are people who don't think like that, right? Who don't have that same mindset and are willing to go forward and talk about these things. And so now the newest, biggest probe into the organization is the Pennsylvania grand jury. Now, the reason why this is such a big deal to JWs, okay, is because the organization itself started in Pennsylvania. Yes, the organization started by Charles Taze Russell in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh. Okay, so, or up in that area. So, yes, all of this stuff and everything and all of their records, all of everything going back to the 1800s can come up, and they'll be able to look into this based off of the fact that the organization is based out of Pennsylvania. It is called the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. That is exactly what it is, okay? So for Pennsylvania to be taking the lead in probing into the organization and now have indicted over 20 people already, okay, just from when they first started, is nuts, okay? And I am shocked, but I'm also so happy, guys. I really am. It's not that I want to see, innocent Jehovah's Witnesses get hurt, because I don't. I have multiple family members that are still Jehovah's Witnesses, including my dad, okay, and other people that are still witnesses to this day. And they're innocent. I don't want to see them get hurt in this, right? What I do want to see is the bullshit stop. I want to see the nonsense stop. I can't tell people not to engage in their religion. If that's what they choose to do, everybody is entitled to that. They have the right to engage in their religious practices. Okay, everybody, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Jehovah's Witness, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I mean, I personally don't subscribe to religion for various reasons, but I don't think it's all a bad thing. I do think that there are some good that can come from being in an organization or being a part of a religion, if that is what you choose to do. Okay. What I don't think is, I do think that they have that right. Okay. But I don't think they have the right to just worship and people are getting hurt at the same time, right? People are being abused at the same time, and everybody's just kind of going about and around and about as if, this isn't what's actually happening. That's not okay, right? People have to, people should feel safe in their place of worship, they should not have to feel like something might happen to their kids or something might happen to them if they're at their place of worship, right? And the organization that they are worshiping within should have some part in, in actually, be mandated in telling this information, right? Or be talking about this. I don't think this is okay. So I hope that, everybody does most definitely come out. I hope that everything that happens with this situation does come out. I'm, again, very, very excited about this. This is something that I've been waiting on for a very long time, to finally get a huge grand jury here in the States to get in on this, right? And I believe this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. There will be a lot more. There will be a whole lot more coming out. There's going to be a lot of names that's going to come out. Eventually, I do believe that the Watchtower will be forced to release that database. They're going to run out of money, you know what I mean? To be able to pay this fine every single month, they're going to run out of that kind of money. But what I find crazy too is that the government is willing to take the money over getting the database. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, I guess they feel like they can't, but yeah, I think they can. If they really wanted to probe into it and the FBI really wanted to get involved in it, you don't think that they can go in and seize all of their stuff? You don't think that they can go in and seize computers, go back and uncover what they did with over there in Brooklyn, when I told y'all they had concreted those bottom floors, because there was about at least 7 floors underneath of Bethel, and they've since concreted those. You don't think they could? You don't think they can find this stuff? If they really wanted to get it, they could. right? But they're willing to take the money, which is crazy, which doesn't surprise me either, because I'm so aware of how many companies that the Watchtower is invested in, including multiple war companies like Boeing and other ones. Even though they will disfellowship you for actually becoming, going into the army or something crazy, but they're actually invested in so many major money-making companies that I can't see why, the government wouldn't look at them as an asset, more than a liability. So I guess that's why they take the money over the database, but that just literally leaves hundreds of thousands of pedophiles just untouched. Just nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. And they just still running around out here. And this is from every country. This isn't just in the US. This is every single country that has a Kingdom Hall, that a child has been molested, and that somebody told at that Kingdom Hall that that child was molested. Instead of them calling the police, they will send that record to the Watchtower, and that's what happens. And it's been going on ever since. I can't believe it myself, but yeah. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't even believe this shit. But either way, guys, let me go ahead and get into the comment section. I appreciate everybody who is in the building. And yeah, so my mom is disfellowshipped. And hold on, let me get into what else is going on here before I get to that. You said Miss Murph salute. You said Miss T Pre. Okay. I think we got into that one. You said my church clapping hands. Right. You said, wow, one of my good friends is a J-Dub. What the heck is going on? Yeah. It's crazy because most Jehovah's Witnesses are not even aware of any of this stuff, guys. They're not aware of this stuff at all. Okay. The Jehovah's Witnesses themselves will keep that information from them. If you could educate your friend on it, it would be nice. And then show them, like, make sure that you show them the news, because they'll watch the news, right? They won't watch YouTube, or that most of the time they don't watch YouTube and stuff like that, but they'll watch the actual news, right? Or something. So show them that on the news. See what they say. He said, my in-laws are JWs. Okay. He said, my husband was disfellowship when we started dating. Yeah, because y'all were unevenly yoked. That's why. They wasn't playing that shit with him. Okay. I never got disfellowship. I did get baptized, but I never got disfellowship. I just never went back. Right. Just because if I do get disfellowship, it would hinder, the relationship I may be able to have with other members of my family. I know my dad wouldn't turn his back and stuff like that, but there are people that would stop, like, being able to talk to me and stuff like that. And so, to keep that from happening, I just don't go, But now they actually tried to change that too. And they're trying to say people who are inactive should also be treated as disfellowship, because they've picked up on us. They've picked up on the fact that, yeah, we don't give a fuck how y'all feel, right? We just move on with our lives. And we don't have to prove to y'all that we're walking away or something like that. We just walk the fuck away, right? They've picked up on that, and they realize that we also have the same ideas as people that they would call apostates, right? People who just think differently than them. They would definitely consider me an apostate. People who think differently than them, they've picked up on that. They know that there's millions of us. And so therefore they try to say that now too. But most JWs nowadays, the governing body doesn't have, I will say that from what I know, and even from talking with family, they don't have as much impact as they used to on people. They used to have a major impact on people. Now they're kind of like, they were in this kind of like celebrity status. Now they're kind of like, you can see them, you can talk to them, they online, they come into the conventions all the time and stuff like that. So they're not as celebrity as they used to be. They're not as awestruck as they used to be, And so people don't have as much respect for them as they used to. And what they're saying doesn't really have as much impact anymore. But yeah. You said, Miss Murph, wow, right. You said, oh, wow, Miss Murph. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. But my mom got this fellowship. She just because she's an apostate, she disagrees with him. So you said, good morning, all. What's up, brother of a certain age? Appreciate you. You said, Miss Murph, did they say that you all were unequally yoked. That's exactly, I'm sure, what they told him. I'm pretty sure that's what they said. He said, always abusing children for far too often. Right, exactly. He said, I was too worldly for him in their eyes. Exactly. You weren't coming into the organization. You weren't an asset to them. And you not being a part of the organization and him being a part of the organization, you were a liability, because then you would be able to eventually pull him away from the organization. That's what they thought. And that's why they disfellowshipped him. He said, greetings. And he probably just wasn't willing to not stop being with you. And that's what it was. He said, Miss Murph, oh, and that's sweet. That's a beautiful thing. He says, sounds like Scientology and Catholic Church in Pennsylvania. Exactly. That's the Church of Scientology and the Jehovah's Witnesses are so much alike. It's not even funny, guys. They're probably the most alike out of all the religions, besides the LDS Church, the Church of Latter-day Saints. Them, the Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the Church of Scientology, they are probably the most alike with all their policies and with the things that they do, and how they do it. Literally, it's almost spit and image. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. And as I'm looking into the Kojic Church, there seems to be a lot of that's connected as well. They all seem to be doing the same things too. You said putting the organization ahead of protecting children. Exactly. And it's crazy. And if you talk to witnesses now about this, they'll say that, right? They'll admit to it because they have to, right? They'll say stuff like, well, the organization isn't perfect, and we've made mistakes, and we've had to weed out the bad ones and all this other stuff, and the bad ones have come in. But yeah, that's not the word that they were saying before, right? That, no such thing could ever happen to the Kingdom Hall. No such thing could ever happen with the organization, because, this was God's organization. This was Jehovah's organization. So it's perfect. And this is what they were saying. Now they have to kind of go back and be like, yeah, they weren't doing the right thing. And even witnesses now are saying stuff like, shit, I'm going to call the police. You know what I mean? I don't care what they say, right? But nowadays, like I said, the organization doesn't have as heavy of an impact as they used to. Because back in the day, if you had even thought like that or said something like that, people know you don't deviate from what they think. It's like the AFWs, right? You can't deviate from what they're thinking, or you're going to be disfellowshipped. You're going to be put out. And if you know, like I know, most JWs are generational JWs. So they've been in the organization for years. Their parents have been in, their grandparents, some's great-grandparents, then they're raising their kids, you know what I'm saying, and all kinds of stuff. And so it's generally like 5 or 6 generations of people that are in the organization. I think I'm generation 3. So I'm the 3rd generation into the organization, right? And then, and that's on my mom's side. On my dad's side, I would be the 4th generation then, okay? So, because my great-grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness as well. So on my dad's side. So yeah, there's, so people come into the organization, through family and stuff like that. And so all is your family and your friends in the organization. So you would think twice back in the day before you said anything or did anything against the organization, because literally your whole life is them, right? Your whole life. Some people work for Jehovah's Witnesses, all kinds of shit, right? Like it's just amazing how intertwined your life is with the organization if you're in the organization. And so doing something so drastic would actually change your entire life. Like it would change the whole scope of your life. Some witnesses have committed suicide and all kinds of stuff after being disfellowshipped because they couldn't take the pressure of not having anybody in their life, right? And nobody, not losing their jobs and all kinds of stuff because they just went against the organization. And, and they did it the right way. They did right by it, and especially what they knew. But it's just the fact that the organization does them the way that they do. So that's the part. And that's why people do that, right? It's unfortunate and it's fucked up. And like I said, nowadays, they're not so much talking like this. But back in the day, they did. You said, yep, none of them are any good, in my opinion. Exactly. None of these religions, right? You said, I bet children who are adults have now spoken out. They are. As a matter of fact, there is a law that New York put in place where it released the statute of limitations just so people can come after these organizations, right? Like the Watchtower, like the Catholics, like all these other ones that have covered up S abuse in their organizations. This is scary. It really is. You said idol worshiping. Clark says, living life. There was a documentary on I think you're saying YouTube. I watched during the pandemic of a church organization. They built their own town, separated men from women, etc. Made all the women get assistance, set up their own store for them to shop. That is crazy. That is fucking nuts. That is really nuts. What's up, Gator Girl? I appreciate you being in the building. You said peace, peace, happy weekend at Black Lounge Divine in chat. You said a relative of mine just got baptized into the JWs and our family is so dismayed. Yeah. Did they do any? Well, I'll say this. I would be inclined to know what was going on in that family member's life when they met a Jehovah's Witness. There had to be a Jehovah's Witness or two or three that came to their door and came to talk to them, or somebody that gave them some information at work or something like that. And it was something that happened, right? Because generally what happens when people just do that, especially when they weren't raised in the organization or anything like that, it's usually something they are going through, right? Or something that they're dealing with that will cause them to, because the JWs will literally love bomb on you, okay? They'll come to you, and if whatever it is that they find out, they'll start asking you probing questions too. They'll ask you, they're like salesmen. They're literally like salesmen. So they'll ask you probing questions to kind of see what it is that you're dealing with and what it is that you're going through. Most of the time, somebody will open up and tell you, oh, somebody just died, or, or something like that. And they will go by whatever it is that you're going through. And they will compare that to this whole thing and selling you on this paradise, right? And what God is going to do for you and how he's going to release all your tears and everything. And you don't have to worry, and you get to see your loved ones again. And they give you so much hope and so much joy. And then, they're bringing you around and everybody's professionally dressed and everything looks right. Everything looks perfect, right? But you don't really know what's going on within the organization until you do research. And most of the time, you'd have to either be in it already or you'd have to hear it from somebody else, right? They're also going to tell them that, hey, there's a lot of haters out here. There's a lot of people they on YouTube, they everywhere. They're going to be telling you a bunch of stuff about the organization that is not true. And I guarantee the person that's telling them that believes that as well. They don't believe that there's an Australian Royal Commission. They don't believe about the probe going on in Pennsylvania. They don't believe any of this stuff, right? They believe this is all apostates making up all this stuff because this is the true religion, okay? This is in their minds, okay? So this is probably what happened with your family member. And I'm not saying that for sure is what happened, but that's generally what happens in a situation like that, where somebody kind of just goes in and gets baptized. It's because they're afraid for some reason, or because of something that they've been through, and the organization has offered them hope on that. And that's usually what happens with them. And it's unfortunate. So I'm not surprised that your family is dismayed by that, because you guys know, right? Y'all have heard about it. Y'all have seen it. Y'all know what's going on. And the family member just went in and got baptized, without really knowing. So I can definitely understand how you guys are feeling about that. What I would do is I would unwitness to them. I would do, get as much information as you can and just talk to them. I wouldn't lead them to it, right? Because they're not going to look at it. But if you have a relationship close enough to them, I would just bring up some stuff. You know what I mean? I would bring up the child sex abuse cases. I would bring up the 2-witness rule, because those are things they can't get out of, right? I would bring up, some things that they can get out of now would be like the blood transfusions. You can't use that as an argument with a new witness, but most definitely the child sex abuse cases, they can't get past that, right? They can't get through that. And you have evidence of it. There's proof of it, And it's not no apostates or anything else. It's literally on the news, So it's not anybody who wrote a book, or anything, because they won't read that. But they'll watch the news. They will. So I would give them that. I would, kind of point them in that direction and see where they go from there. So you said, Living Life, I'm going to try to look for it again. You said Gator Girl. You said Morning Gator Girl. I'm shocked people are still even joining. I am too, but I'm also not, right? It also depends on where they are in the world too. I'd be inclined to know where they are. And also, like I can say, like in Africa, I did a lot of activism on Facebook in Africa, because in Africa, they were so unaware of what the fuck was going on here in the organization in the US. They thought we were crazy. And I'm telling you, it was hundreds of thousands of people that I've spoken to in different groups. Okay. And they thought we were crazy. And it took a while. But we finally pierced some of those folks, because they were coming back to me and asking me stuff, like a couple years later, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But at least I was able to plant some seeds out there. And there were other people that were able to do it too. You said Clark. Okay. You said Money to Burn, Clark, Gator Girl. Yeah, these were groups, that Facebook groups on Africa. So I don't want y'all to think I was just over in Africa. No, I was on Facebook doing that. You said maybe the FBI do not want another Branch Davidian experience. That is why they haven't gone in. So I can tell you it would definitely not be the same. It would not be the same. First of all, now, if it was, I would be shocked as fuck. Like, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'll say that. If it became a Branch Davidian situation, I would be very, very surprised, for the simple fact that the Jehovah's Witnesses aren't supposed to have any type of firearms, right? So if the Watchtower, or if JW.org, if the headquarters was strapped down with bombs and guns and shit, I would be like, what the fuck is going on? Now that would shock me. That would honestly shock me. I could say there isn't too much shit about the Jehovah's Witnesses that shock me anymore. Every so often I'll run across something that does shock me, but that would most definitely shock the shit out of me. Okay, for sure. Because they are not supposed to have any type of explosives or anything close to anything like a gun, or anything like that. I don't know any Jehovah's Witnesses that own guns. Not one. I can't think of one. Maybe there were some, but I can't think of any. As a matter of fact, I know that my dad used to work at the casinos in Atlantic City, and he had to quit that job because of the gun. And because of the environment. Yeah, y'all. Yeah, y'all. When he decided he wanted to become an elder, that's what my dad had to do. So I know that, I would be surprised if that is it. I don't think that's it at all. I think it's because of the money. I'm telling you, I'm going to go over the Watchtower's finances with y'all one day, and just show y'all how many companies they're invested in, and so forth. And you guys are going to be like, wow. Okay. So it would probably be less profitable to the government for them to not take their money, because they have the money. They got the money. They're not getting their money just from conventions and stuff like that, and donations and stuff. Most of their money comes from investments, and it comes from investments in major companies. I'm talking about banks. I'm talking about major military companies, everything. You name it, child, they invested, okay? And they've had millionaires that have given them all of their assets too. There have been that have died and given them everything, right? There's been billionaires who have done the same thing, died and gave the Watchtower everything, right? Didn't leave their family shit, but left it to the Watchtower. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on with that. And I would be more inclined to think that it's because of the money. I don't think it would be because they don't want a Branch Davidian thing. I think it's because they know that they can get paid, like for real. So, it's kind of like an ongoing deal, like a backdoor deal in a sense, right? You say exactly, Money to Burn. Sometimes it's a sense of belonging somewhere. Yeah. You said, Aboka, great morning to you. You said Clark, I was thinking that same too. Yeah, I just think that it's more about the money. I really think it is that. I'll go over that with you guys in the next video we do on the JWs. We'll talk about their finances. You said, my goodness, living life. You said, I believe I saw that there are limits to medical care that they can take advantage of as well. Yes. So, all right. So I'll say this. It used to be where you would get disfellowshipped if you got a blood transfusion. If you allowed your children to get a life-saving blood transfusion, you also would get disfellowship, disassociated, all kinds of craziness, right? It was just crazy, like the mindset that they had. And yeah, people were walking around, including myself, with a blood card so that if something happened to me, I wasn't allowed to get a blood transfusion, right? And things like that. And they would definitely put you out of the organization for doing so. And like I said, to people who aren't in the organization, you're like, so, okay, put me out, right? But no, it's literally, this is your entire family. So your family will stop talking to you. Your friends will stop talking to you. You won't have anybody in your life, and it'll just be you and your kid and you saved your kid's life, but now you done lost this, you done lost that, you ain't got no job, you don't have nothing because you're working for somebody in the organization, now they fired you, all kinds of stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff that used to happen. And so people would think twice about these things. Also, the elders would come and pressure you. So they'll come to the hospital. Even if your kid is in there dying, they'll come and sit right there in the hospital with you and make sure you're not making such a decision. You better let that kid die. And you know how many people allowed their kids to die in the name of this blood transfusion? I think I showed you guys that. Let me see if I can find that Awake article real quick. Hold on 1 second, guys. Yep, used to put God first, Awake. So let me find that image. Here we go. Let me remove my banner real quick so y'all can see this. And then I'm going to share my screen because I want you guys to see. This is an article that I remember from when I was a kid. So it's this article right here, Youth Who Put God First, okay? Every single one of these children, y'all see, and this was back in like 1984 or 85 or something like that. And I remember this Awake when I was a kid. Every single one of these kids died, y'all, in the name of a blood transfusion. None of them went and got a blood transfusion because their parents, quote unquote, put God first, okay? And decided that their life was less important than the organization. And that's all of these children. Every single one that you see in these pictures, including these kids, they all passed away. And this was back in 1980s or so when that happened. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that went on in the organization, along with many other things that have happened as well. But yes, they most definitely will hinder you getting proper medical treatment just based off of their beliefs or whatever. Really, it was a sacrifice. We can go into that another day, but it was a blood sacrifice that they were doing against these people. But we'll talk about that at another time. That's kind of deep for this morning. But I'll talk about the many sacrifices of the Jehovah's Witnesses. One of them is that one, and there's other ones too. But where they actually sacrifice to Lucifer himself. Okay. You said, Miss Murphy, yeah, a lot of this stuff is so deep and ingrained, and people want to believe so badly. Yep. You said, and writing a brother of a certain age repeatedly, it's weird, right? You said, my school friend left the JWs because he got this fellowship for drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes. I'm pretty sure it was the cigarettes that he got this fellowship for, or he was over drinking, or like he was found drunk, right? Because they love alcohol, child. Like them Jehovah's Witnesses, that is one of their favorite pastimes is alcohol. As a matter of fact, Tony Morris, which was the guy that was the governing body member that was recently removed, he was caught a few years ago at the liquor store on Sunday morning at that, okay, buying all types of Jamesons, and he had a whole box full of Jameson's whiskey. Okay, child. Yes, honey. He was about to get it in. Okay. And then also, I've grown up as a kid. I remember alcohol being available at parties and stuff like that. Not for teenagers, but definitely available to the adults. Even my parents had events and stuff, or gatherings, they called them, and they would have beer or wine at the event. I don't remember there being liquor, but I do remember seeing beers and stuff like that. So that is a thing for sure that they do. But smoking cigarettes is most definitely, you will get this fellowship for that, for sure. You said, T. Pri, I was giving talks at Buckingham. Yeah! Me too! Now, I never gave a talk at Buckingham, but I've been to Buckingham several times. I think the last time I was there, I had to be 15 or so. Yeah, you're from the Philly area, so you've been to Buckingham and used to probably go to Vet Stadium during the conventions in June, right? During the summer conventions, and where it was hot as shit over there. Yeah, but they had the ice, the juices with the ice in it, and the Fritos and shit. Yeah. But I remember Buckingham too. So you were giving talks at Buckingham by the time you were 11. By 21, I was out. My brother left at, I believe I think he was 20. I don't know how old he was. I got to ask him. I think he was like 25 or something like that when he left. You said, I know, even though I never experienced this type of stuff. That's good. That's really good. There's a lot of things I didn't experience either, but there are things I did experience. And so, yeah, that's funny how we were probably at Buckingham around the same time. In and around the same time. Well, Buckingham, I don't know, because Buckingham it would be the circuit, right? So that was wherever you were. So we weren't there with like Philly congregations, but we were at the district assembly with y'all for sure. So I probably seen you at the district assembly many times, right? We just didn't know it. That's funny though. And I never gave any talks at Buckingham, but I gave many and many talks at the Kingdom Hall. So I can definitely do that. But I've never taken part in anything at Buckingham other than, you remember when they used to have them hot lunches? Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm. Shout out to you for that memory though. Yeah. Man, I'll tell you, I'll never forget that place either. You said, living life to the fullest. My JW friend had to cut me off in our 20s. I respected her religion and she eventually came back to me. I'm sure she did. Because she just, she had to do that. She felt like she had to do it until she realized these motherfuckers are full of shit, right? You said, unadulterated. Good morning, brother. You said, my aunt is a JW and every year I get a weird letter. Wow. How about that? That's crazy. She probably tries to get you to convert. You said, a brother of a certain age. Great to see you, bro. As always, they sure do. You said, we used to get JWs at our door every Saturday morning. However, I haven't seen them in a while. Maybe they've changed their approach. So I do know that since the pandemic, they weren't going out at all, right? During the pandemic. And then before that, they were doing cart witnessing. There was a major campaign on cart witnessing before that, because I remember this too, because I remember seeing a few of them and I remember unwitnessing to them. So I call it unwitnessing. So, several of us in the ex-JW community call it unwitnessing. But either way, yeah, I remember seeing them. So they have these carts and they sit on the corners now, and people will kind of just come up to them or wherever they're at. They could be at the beach. They could be anywhere, at a restaurant, wherever their solicitation won't be, the cops won't be called on them. They'll be there and they'll have one of these carts. And you can come up to them and the cart has a display of all the little watchtowers and awakes or whatever they've got. And you can come and pick up whatever you want and then just, spark a conversation with them. So they're doing that a lot more than they have been going door to door. However, once the pandemic started, they were doing that and then the pandemic started, right? So once the pandemic started, nobody was going door to door, okay? Nobody was even at the Kingdom Halls. So once the pandemic ended, a lot of those witnesses actually left the organization. So a lot of people left during the pandemic, okay, because they had time to look at YouTube and look at Facebook and look at other things where some of us were actually unwitnessing to them, right? They had time to do all this stuff. And so therefore they left. right? Others were aware of what's going on now, but they're kind of like physically in but mentally out, right? So they're not going anymore, or they're not doing as much anymore. They're not involved anymore. And the organization has recently put their foot down about that. I know that. Shout out to John Cedars. They have, and also JW. I forgot who it was. Anyway, they recently put their foot down again on that as well, where they're telling them they need to get back to the Kingdom Hall or else. Okay, like they're trying to tell people y'all need to get back up in here. Y'all need to get back out door to door, and they're just kind of like threatening people with disfellowshipping and all this other stuff. And like I said, it's not having the same effect that it used to have, because people just know now, right? The internet is their biggest enemy. Like they just know what's going on with them, right? And so, you know, it's people are just not coming out. So you're probably not seeing as many JWs traditionally like we used to because of those things, right? Because of a lot of those things that have happened. You said, don't they say only a certain number of people will be saved and brought back to life? Yes, anybody that is a Jehovah's Witness. Anybody that is a baptized, and now it's you got to be baptized. So before it was you could be a Jehovah's Witness, but you ain't had to be baptized, and it was this and this. Now it's you got to be a baptized Jehovah's Witness in order for you to be saved by God, okay? Or you got to be part of the 144,000, which is also baptized witnesses. But that's another story. We'll get into that another day too. But yeah, you said Clark field service, okay? I remember being out in field service when I was a kid. I used to hate that shit, y'all. I used to hate it. And I think my biggest fears was getting bit by a dog or something, like somebody letting a dog out on us and stuff. And also running into people from school, right? I didn't want to run into my friends from school and shit like that. That shit's embarrassing, right? Everybody else get to sit up and watch cartoons on Saturday. I got to be out knocking on y'all door, giving y'all pamphlets and shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. I miss them days when my parents wasn't doing that, for real. My brother had reminded me of that too, and how it wasn't always like that, where, you know, we were in the organization, but they weren't like really pressed over it until I got to about 12. That's when my dad really, really started pressing the issue. But before then, we were like just regular people. We, you know, we did activities. I was into dance. My brother was into, and I was into cheerleading. My brother was into softball, baseball, all kinds of stuff. So they had us in activities that regular Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't do, right? You know, so we really lived a regular life for the most part, other than the fact that we didn't celebrate most holidays, right? So we didn't celebrate like Christmas and stuff like that, but they always made up for that. I'll tell you that. A couple times a year, our families would get together. So my grandparents, our parents, aunt, everybody, they would get together and they would buy gifts from me and my brother and my cousin, and we would get major gifts. Like anything that you got at Christmas time, I got it before then, right? Or anything you got it, you know, and I was the only girl. So I used to get everything, right? I used to have all the dolls, all the clothes, like you name it, I had it. So I wasn't really missing stuff, right? When it came to like Christmas and stuff like that, because they would do something either like the day before or the day after. You know, they did stuff like that for us. And I commend my parents for that, and my grandparents for doing that kind of stuff too. But they definitely did do that. My grandfather used to write us stock shares every year, you know, all kinds of stuff. So we weren't missing and lacking in things, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe some JW kids do. We definitely didn't. And I know other JW kids that went through the same thing. Like their parents, they did make up for that stuff. Even my mom, she always acknowledged us every year on our birthdays. Even though we didn't get like birthday presents and have a birthday party, she always made me a strawberry cake. It was a double cake with strawberry icing and strawberries. And she would do the same for my brother, a blueberry cake, double cake with blueberry icing and blueberries on it. You know, she did that for us. And this was her way of acknowledging us on our birthday, you know. And then we would end up getting gifts like a few days later, you know what I mean, or something like that. So they always did stuff like that. So he said, sometimes I would hear people cussing them out. Right. He said, Miss Murph, that is crazy. Maybe I'm not aware of them. I don't want to be knocking on nobody's door. Okay. At all, child. I was so glad when I got old enough and moved to Delaware, I ain't have to do that shit no more. That was probably the biggest relief for me when I left the organization. You said, as with any religion, there will be folks that don't follow all the rules. Exactly. You said, T. Pre, I don't put nothing past these organizations. I hope you're right. That money is powerful. Yes, it is, honey. Yes, it is. I'm telling that almighty dollar, man. That almighty dollar. And I have a hard time with it being anything else because, like I said, I've been in the organization, and I can't see them stacking up firearms against the government. I can't see that at all. Not them. They're not that kind of cult, right? They are a cult, but they're not that kind of cult. I definitely see them having backdooring with the government and making a backdoor deal. I definitely see that happening, but not with the funding. But I don't see anything else. Now, I can say that eventually that deal is going to go through. You know what I mean? That deal is going to probably fall out somehow. They're going to run out of money to be able to do this or something. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. You said my mom scared them off early on. Right. That's a good thing, child. You said money to burn. I remember I opened the door once and they were getting ready to step past me onto my apartment. That was weird to me. I started to tell them that I was another religion. Yeah, all you got to do to make a Jehovah's Witness go away, you just be like, okay, let us pray. And you just start praying. They're going to walk away. Be like, yep, we're going to have prayer real quick and just go right into the prayer. Don't let them stop you or any of that stuff. Just go right into it. And they'll walk away. You said money to burn. I hear you. My school friend used to preach. I had to tell them stop. Glad he's out of it now. You know, there was another thing that I used to tell these witnesses, right? I'm trying to remember what it is. Every time I say I'm gonna go back and tell y'all, I always forget. But there was this one thing I used to say to the witnesses, and it was something about the governing body. Right. It was something about them and the organization itself. I can't remember what it is, but when I get this, I'm going to write this down so that I can share it with you guys, because every time I said this, they never came back. Okay. Every time I would say this and I would bring this particular thing up, it would get them to thinking, and they would say, you know what? I'm going to have to get back to you with that answer because I don't really have the answer to that, but I will get back to you. And they never come back. They never come back. But it's a particular question, and I can't remember what it is now because it's been so long since I've asked the question. But I'm going to think of what it is, all right? And I'll get back to you guys about that. But yeah, child. You said that's what my mom told them, and it was not a good religion in their eyes, Clark, right? You said they never came back. That's what they do. They'll never come back if you say certain things to them, right? You said money to burn. Your mom was right. You said, wasn't the founder a KKK member? Not that I know of, but he was definitely a Mason. Yeah, he was definitely into Masonic teachings. As a matter of fact, the entire organization is built off of Masonic teachings, and he's buried in a pyramid in Pittsburgh on Masonic grounds. So yeah, he's a Mason, but I don't know about the Klansmen. Now there was a Rutherford was he was very prejudiced also, and he used to say stuff about Black people and the organization. He used to say that Black people were very teachable, but even though we were, I can't remember the right wording. I'll pull that up too and give you guys that, the organization and Black people, JWs. I may have done that already, the history of the JWs and Black people. If not, if I haven't done it, I'll do it for sure. But there is an actual history between Rutherford and the JWs and Black people and how they used to be separated. I did this video already. They used to separate Blacks from whites in the organization. They would baptize Black people in a different pool than they would white people. As a matter of fact, they would baptize Black people in a separate location. Okay, so they would bus them to another location to baptize them and then bring them back. And when asked about this, the organization's answer to that was they still have to abide by state laws. And that's the reason why they were doing this. I'm like, what? Like, get the fuck out of here. So y'all ain't got to abide by state laws when it comes to, pedophiles and, mandating, reporting the abuse of children, but y'all ain't got no problem baptizing black people in a different pool. Like, y'all niggas is crazy. So no, they weren't. He wasn't a Klansman, but well, he was probably associated with the Klan. I'll say that. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I know the founder was not. He was not that I know of, right? I just know he was a Mason. He was a white Mason, right? I do know that. You said my friend's dad is an elder at Living Life to the Fullest, so she had to cut us off. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's exactly why. That's exactly why. Yeah, my dad is an elder, so he said money to burn. I think they caught on because now they want to dialogue about the differences between their religion and the religion you say you are. Oh, ain't that something? You said money to burn. They like them segregated. Yep. So definitely that was one thing about them being them busing them and taking them to somewhere else to get baptized and stuff. They also, when they would do these plays, right? I know Unadulterated remembers this, when they used to do these it was like these skits, right? And I forgot what they would call them. What do they call them? The dramas. They would call them the dramas. Okay, the dramas. So they would do these dramas, and in the drama, they would have like people acting and doing different things. And it was like a big deal to be in the dramas, right? At the convention. But either way, you were in the drama and you were a part of the whole show. And they used to have these dramas in certain places in theaters. Okay, so they used to separate Black people from watching the dramas with everybody else in the organization. They would separate them into a different theater to watch the drama. And that's other things that they did with Black people. They used to say stuff about how Black people are teachable. He would say stuff like, I can't remember the exact words, I'm just paraphrasing, but he would say something to the nature of how stupid Black people are, but that they can be taught and they can be molded. And so that's why they were such a great asset to the organization, is because Black people can be molded into what they want them to be. That is some of the stuff that Rutherford has said. And there's some other things too. So I can't say he was part of the KKK, but if he was, I wouldn't be surprised, right? And this is the same guy who was also a pedophile. He was not on, this is probably why the governing body don't want to release this database too, because he was a known pedophile. He was a known drunk, and he died drunk and fucked up, and in a house that he had bought that's still in existence to this day. It's over in like California, I want to say it is. But this house was a house that he built because he claimed that the end of the world was going to come before he died. And so, he built this house so that the prophets can have somewhere to live when they come back, right? That Jesus and Paul and all these other people would have somewhere to live when he comes back. So when they come back. Okay. So Rutherford died broke, stupid, looking dumb, drunk, and a pedophile. Yeah. So yeah, that's unfortunate for him. But he was one of the most prejudiced people that I know of in the organization. And he actually changed the scope of the organization too. They changed it from international Bible students to the Watchtower when he became the president. He said, I don't know why they allow her to be cool with me now, living life to the fullest, because I ain't changed. Okay. No, it became, it was international Bible students, and then it became the Jehovah's Witnesses, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, or I don't remember. Anyway, I'll go over that timeline one day too. But it did change once Rutherford became president. You said money. You said T-Pre and Unadulterated might actually know my husband from back in those days. I very well may have seen him back at the assemblies. Yep. He said, I've heard stories about the district. Child. They were the funnest, okay? It was hot as fuck, though. I'm not going to hold you, but I met plenty of niggas at the fucking district assemblies, okay? I had plenty of fun, okay? Just saying. He said, I think my mom made their horns come out. She wasn't playing with them people. I know she wasn't, child. He said, you can't play with them. He said, money to burn. You said, you know how when a cat gets water thrown at the... right. You said, Money, your mom sounds like a smart woman. Yes, yes. You said, yeah, I've seen them on corners with chairs and a stand. Yep, that's what they're doing nowadays. They got these carts out. I don't think they're doing as much door-to-door work, but I think the organization is trying to push them to do more because it was effective back in the day. But there's such a old school, group of people, and these old ass men, they don't realize that technology has changed and things have changed, and this is why things have uncovered so quickly about them, because of technology and how things have changed, and what happened and was effective in the past is just not effective anymore. You said, I mean, Leo. You said, I'm a mean Leo living life. She don't play. Okay, my daughter's a Leo. One of my daughters is a Leo. You said they still actively door knocking and cart witnessing in Philly. Okay, so yeah, I guess it depends on where it is. And I know that they're still doing it. I just know that it's not as much, right? Because there's not as many people that are doing this stuff either. So you say, hey, Carla Martin, I appreciate you. Say, hey, Miss T. Pre and Loungers, I'm late, but we'll go back and catch the entire live. Peace weekend to y'all. I appreciate that, Carla. You said, as crazy as Philly is now, I wouldn't be knocking on doors. Okay. I'm just saying, they believe Jehovah with them though, girl. What's up, Mikey? I appreciate you being in the building. You said, hey, Miss Carla. You said, hey, Money to Burn. You said, my husband said they didn't celebrate birthdays either. Yeah, we definitely did not. We definitely didn't. What's good, Mikey? Appreciate you. Hey, Muslim, appreciate you being in the building. You said, Queen Miss T. Pre, appreciate you, bro. You said, I recall growing up with one JW family in our neighborhood, and the mom passed, and I think the funeral was kind of weird. Huh. I'd like to elaborate, because I've been to several JW funerals, including my grandfather's, which was by Zoom because he died during the pandemic. And then my grandmother's funeral as well. I remember that. That was standing room. There were so many people that knew my grandmom, so many people that were impacted by her and her witnessing, so many people that loved her, that the family sat, and there were other people within the congregation that were sitting. But by the time the funeral was over and we were going in the recession, I was shocked at how many people were standing in that Kingdom Hall, because there were so many people. There were people in the lobby. There were people that were standing in the back. There was just not enough chairs for the people that were at her funeral. So it was a regular funeral to me. It was just not what you would see at a church, right? And it doesn't last nearly as long either. I can say that much, but what they generally do, I will say this much about the witnesses, and I hated this much about what happened with both of them, with my grandfather too, right? They'll talk about their life very briefly, and then they'll just give you a sermon on the Jehovah's Witnesses and life after death and all this other stuff, and just kind of talk about that, kind of move people to the Kingdom Hall, and that's just it. There's no clapping and there's no praising to God. There's none of that going on. Nothing that you would traditionally see at a Black funeral, at a Black church, right? You don't generally see that. You don't hear the church music going, but there is, they will play like kingdom melodies. If y'all know what that is, those are songs that the JWs have come up with, that the Watchtower has come up with, that are worshiping songs. Okay. They have their own set of worship music. So they will play that. There is this one song they used to play, Life Without End at Last. Y'all know that song. They used to play that song, Life Without. That was one of my favorite songs as a Jehovah's Witness, though. That was, can you see with your mind's eye, people's dwelling together. Trouble will pass, peace at last, life without tears and pain. Sing out with joy of heart, you too can have a part. Live for the day when you'll say, life without end at last. Yeah, that song was lit. I kind of remembered that song, and they played that at Grandmom's funeral. They played probably every JW funeral I've been to. They played that song, but that was one of the most. That was the song that everybody wanted to stand up and sing. Okay, I don't know why that song itself, I guess it was because it gave witnesses hope, right? But there's other songs too. There was the Lazarus lay sleeping in a cold stone grave. There was that song. They played that. And there was other songs that were worship songs that were for the Jehovah's Witnesses that most people never heard of if they didn't have a songbook or if they never been to the Kingdom Hall. Y'all never heard them songs. But anybody that has, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, so they sang certain music and did certain things at the Kingdom Hall, depending on, you know, what. But yeah, that's probably what the weird part about it was the music as well as how the funeral went, right? But it wouldn't be any crazy rituals or anything that would be happening at a funeral that I can remember. But I do remember those particular songs. I remember the funeral being very stately. I remember nobody's falling over the casket or anything like that. None of that stuff would be happening. It's very dignified and everything. Yeah, so you said peace to the chat. You say yum. You said now I want some cake. Okay. Right. You said good morning, Miss T Free in chat. I gotta catch the replay. No problem, beautiful Bernice. Appreciate you being in the building. You said good morning, everybody in the chat room. This is old man Mikey. You said me too, Miss Murph. Right. I might make a cake today. You said Black Lounge Divine. Can you copy the link to my channel in the chat? I don't even know the link to your channel. So if one of the mods can do that, that would be great. I don't have a problem with that because I don't even know the link myself. Let me see. Let me see if I can get to you real quick. Hold on, y'all. Let me hit y'all a timer real quick, and then I'm gonna try to do that for Muslims. So hang on 1 second. All right, hang on, guys. Let me get your muzz. Messy muzz. All right, so I should be able to click on you, and then hang on, Muzz. Hang on, Muzz. Okay. All right, so I got you now. All right, so this is Muslim's channel. Everybody go over and subscribe. I'm going to be subscribing too. I heard that you've been going live, so I've got you on all notifications now. Everybody go over and subscribe to Muslim. I hope that's the right channel. Just let us know, okay? But I got you right there, so shout out to you. Let me go ahead and go up here, though. Okay. So you said, hey to Mikey, and you said, that's true, T. Pre. You said, hey to Mikey. You said, hey, sis, money to burn. You said, hey to Carla Martin. You said, muzz, muzz, muzz. You said, peace, Miss Murph. You said, hey to Carla. You said, hey, love, money to burn. You said, hey, bros, unadulterated truth. And you said, wow. You said, state laws. What? Mm-hmm. You said, hey, living life, beautiful Bernice, Clark. You said Clark. You said Black Lounge Divine. I emailed the link to you, love. Okay, no problem. Well, I just put it up for you. I don't know if this is the right one. I think you have a couple channels, but I'm not sure. You said that's weird as shit. Mm-hmm. You said Carla, money, great to you. Great morning to you. And you said some folks still think that way. Mm-hmm. Very weird, money to burn. Yeah. You said the beautiful Bernice, great morning to you. You said Clark, beautiful Bernice. You said, hey, to beautiful Bernice and Muslim. You said, hey, to living life. Salam, sis. You said, Muslim. I was trying to follow your show the other night. I'm going to try to get in there and see what he was talking about. You said, thanks for watching, everyone. Please like, share, subscribe to Black Lounge Divine. You said, I've been to a strange JW funeral too. It was like a sales call. I didn't like it. Yeah. So there you go. Right. So it's like they'll talk briefly about their life. Right. And then they'll just start talking about, what happens after death and stuff. And then they'll try to recruit. That's what's going on. Yeah. That's exactly what's happening. You said, Clark, good morning to you. You said, hey, Clark, unadulterated. You said, when I worked as an assistant property manager, the buildings had and still does have many JWs. They were always nice to me. Very nice people. Very nice people. You said Black Lounge, but as for me, determined I shall be to walk eternally in my integrity. Please judge me, Lord. That song reminds me of my grandma. Yo, shout out to you. Peace, Muslim. You said, and now that I think of it, they never engaged with their JW neighbors, etc., or holidays and such. Oh no, never. You said, Carla Martin, always a pleasure, sis. You said, a Muslim, I am lacking in my foreign policy education. You said, sub. Yeah, I just subbed too. No problem, boop. You said, sub Muslim. Okay. So you said, it's the right one. Okay, good. You said, I'm driven. Okay, great. You said, greetings, Carla Martin. Salam, brother. All right, y'all. So we are done. We have been on here for about 2 hours. I've got some stuff I got to do, but I definitely want to make sure that we come back tomorrow and we talk about the Kojic Church, honey, because we got a lot going on with Larry. All right. Larry Reed is on the chopping block tomorrow. Okay, we got a lot to talk about. And like I said, you could sit and threaten people with lawsuits and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, things have to be false, okay, for you to threaten somebody with a lawsuit, okay, and then it actually goes through, or, there has to be fake information there, for those things to actually happen. This is why I go and I vet the stuff prior to talking about it, right? Because I don't want to find myself, in a situation like that. And at the end of the day, either way, he can try all that shit if he wants to, but just like he did with Daryl Moore, that didn't go through. And, clearly Daryl only has to pay $745, and that's to the courts, okay? After this man done spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a quote unquote lawsuit because people are putting his truth out here. All right. So either way, guys, I appreciate everybody for being in the building. Make sure that y'all do hit that like button on the way out. And guys, let's end this with some good old church. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace, guys. Thank y'all for watching.